Welcome to the Infill Podcast, where we interview the most interesting members of the 3D printing and maker communities, live and with audience participation. And now, here is your host, Jonathan Levy.
Hello everyone. Let me know as you're coming in how the audio levels are. As you can see, we're not in our normal stomping grounds. Today I'm in the studio, and I'm joined by a really exciting guest, someone that you've probably been seeing a lot of if you've been following the latest releases of what printers are coming out, especially what printers are coming out of Europe. I am joined by one of the co-owners of RatRig, Sonat Duyar. He is a maker like you and I. As I said, he is a co-owner of RatRig. And my goal for this episode is really just to get a better understanding of RatRig as a company. Like many of you, I don't know so much about RatRig. They've recently been very kind of out there with the VCore 4 and making some marketing efforts. So I've been really excited to learn more about it, but also learn more about them and their process, their philosophy. So with no further ado, please join me in welcoming Sonat. Welcome.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to bring your audio levels up a little bit, but also let me know out there in the peanut gallery if our audio is roughly matched. So Sonat, I'd love to get into RatRig as a company, but first I want to hear a little bit about your journey, how you got into 3D printing. You mentioned, I promise that I'm not going to ask you super technical questions because you're not in a technical role, but obviously you are interested and passionate about 3D printing. So I'd love to hear how that happened.
Sure. So thanks for having me, first of all. This has been a wild ride of a journey. As many other companies, we pivoted a lot over the years, and RatRig didn't start at all as a 3D printing company originally. We
Really?
actually, yeah, that's true. We started back in 2014, and this was at a time where YouTube was really blowing up. Video cameras were getting cheaper, and a lot of people were getting interested in videography. So we realized, because at the time I was actually working as a video producer, that there was a gap in the market for a camera slider that was very affordable. So at that moment in time, camera sliders were actually quite expensive, and there was a lot of more affordable budget options in cameras and surrounding equipment, but not camera sliders. So we thought, maybe there's an opportunity here to create an affordable camera slider. And for those of you who don't know, a camera slider is basically just a rail with a carriage where you put your camera on top and then it stabilizes the image. So that was our initial conjecture about what could be an interesting product to introduce in the market. And in the process of trying to design this product and bring it to market as fast as we could, we found V-slot extrusions, and we thought it could be a really interesting platform to start building this product. And that's how we started working. We started locally manufacturing V-slot extrusion and all the related components. And we started building prototypes of these camera sliders. We noticed that this platform was very modular and allowed for a lot of possibility to play with ideas and quickly prototype them. So we started actually creating different products in the video category. And as we started selling these as DIY kits initially, we started noticing that people were also buying our components to do completely different things that were completely outside of our scope. And what happened at this point in time, so we're talking about 2015, 2016, 2017, the mass market of 3D printers was starting to get going, and there were a lot of options in the market, but there were a lot of crappy options, and people were buying crappy printers. And then there was a subset of users who were really trying to upgrade these printers and trying to make them perform better. So we started capturing an audience of upgraders, which were pretty much very technical users who really understood what they wanted to do and were buying our components to upgrade their 3D printers. And what we did at this point in time was actually just pay very close attention to what they were doing and try as much as possible to go after what they were looking for. So our journey into the 3D printing world was quite, driven by customer pull. So the customers literally told us, "This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I need. Can you guys help me achieve this purpose?" So there
Amazing.
was a lot of collaboration with these first users, and because of the nature of the catalog we had, we were actually attracting people who were very technically skilled and really understood the product and the market and the needs, And we just tried our best to keep supplying and sourcing the things they needed. And for convenience, we start grouping them as kits, DIY kits. And over time, we started having such a vast catalog of components for 3D printers that at some point it felt silly not to offer at least something that tried to be a complete kit for a 3D printer. We were not experts at all, but we thought, okay, let's try to offer a kit as complete as possible. It might help these initial users get started if they're really into DIY. And that's how we started the VCore originally. This was probably back in 2018, something like that. So at the time, we decided we wanted to have a Cartesian printer and Core XY, and we launched the first version of the VCore and another printer that has already been discontinued in the meantime. But the VCore really got some traction, and there was a lot of people in the community building the VCore and making it better. And because it was a completely open source thing, people kept collaborating and really improving the product. And then we got inspired by things that users were doing, and we're like, okay, this is a really great idea. We should integrate this in our kit. So there was definitely a lot of collaboration between us and the first users that helped us really polish the product over time. And we really found some gems in our community that are now today part of our development team, because this was a great funnel to find talent that could really help us develop these products. And actually, I feel super privileged and lucky these days because I get to work with people that I truly, truly admire, and I think they're awesome. And we were able to source this development team out of all corners of the planet, not by asking people to send CVs to apply for an open position, but just by capturing passionate people who loved what they were doing and helped us really develop the product. And over time, it kept evolving. And I guess we kept releasing versions that kept getting closer and closer to bullseye. And VCore 3 was our first hit in the bullseye, at least for some subset of the market, for some niche. It was the machine that make our company blow up. So the company from 2014 until 2020 was about 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. All of a sudden, VCore 3 is launched. A lot of big YouTubers in the space start picking it up and wanting to build it and making reviews about it. One of the most relevant ones was definitely Teaching Tech, Michael Loss. And after his review, the interest on our machine really completely blew out of proportion. And over the course of 1 year, tripled the team in size. Wow. We had to grow to new facilities. We had to really ramp up production to a level that we had never seen before. It was a crazy, crazy time. We took a long time just to stabilize from this spurt of growth that was completely something that we weren't expecting. We've kept evolving VCore 3 over time because we really believe in this approach of continuous improvement. There's no such thing as a finished product for us. We always try our best to put out the best products out there, but of course we receive feedback and we integrate that feedback. We try to see what we can do better. So we're always evolving. So after a while, we launched the VCore 3.1. We kept releasing new upgrades for VCore 3. And at some point last year, we were working on what we thought would be VCore 3.2. But the idea kept evolving. Oh, let's put this in. Let's put it. Oh, maybe we should do it this way. The idea kept developing. And by the time we went to Formnext in November last year, we took a prototype that we didn't really say to anyone what it was, but internally we were calling it the VCore 3.5, and we thought we would release it as 5. But at some point, development became so, there were so many new features that we were trying to put in the machine that it felt like a step change and deserving of a major version number. And at some point we decided, no, this is no longer an iteration of vCore 3. This is something fundamentally different, and it should be called vCore 4. And that's what we launched less than a month ago. So the official launch date was
Congrats.
30th of April. And yeah, it has hit us by surprise. So we learned a lot of lessons from vCore 3, where we weren't prepared at all for all that popularity. So this time around we really try to prepare ourselves for a big launch. And the launch really completely exceeded our expectations. And
Congratulations, that's great.
now we're going to have another spurt of growth. There's no doubt about that. And yeah, all hands are on deck there's going to be a huge production ramp over the course of the next few months, for sure.
Amazing. Well, you already answered all my questions, so I think we're good to wrap. But now I understand why you guys have such amazing video quality right out of the gate, right? A relatively new YouTube channel, and I'm like, how is your video so good? Now I understand why. It's also interesting to me that you guys kind of got pulled in to 3D printing. It sounds to me like either you or some of your co-founders have studied entrepreneurship a lot and read a lot of entrepreneurship books, because as you were going, I could list off like the books that talk about, the customer development journey, learning the feedback from your customers, hiring your customers. There's so many right things that you've done business strategy wise that I've learned the hard way as well. So that's really, really cool.
For sure, a huge inspiration for the story of our company is a book called The Lean Startup. Yep. And it does encapsulate most of those things you're talking about. And it's something that we're really obsessed over, trying to find our niche and trying to evolve the product by really paying attention to our early customers.
It's amazing how it works too. And it shows in the kind of flesh and blood of your company today, right? You guys, as I understand, when I read about RatRig, you guys kind of co-develop the products with your customers in some sense. There's a feedback between the open source community and you guys. Describe that to me a little bit and how that works.
So these days what happens is that we have already massive communities. Our official community is on Facebook. It has around 15,000 users. And we have also an unofficial community on Discord that has crossed the milestone of 10,000 users early this year. And these users are all the time helping each other, troubleshooting problems, upgrading their machines, sharing ideas, and developing products. And sometimes we find someone in the community that looks very active and very technical and really understands a specific use case. And then we just approach that person and start talking. And this is pretty much how we've been recruiting people over time. We sometimes open up beta testing applications. So in order to, before we release the product to the wider market, we try to recruit some beta testers and try to screen some people for their technical ability and ability to provide feedback. And yeah, we keep filtering out this community for some really precious gems that we find all over the world. And it's really something that it's only possible leveraging current technologies, 30 years ago, without these super active communities that we have online, how would we be able to have a reach that would allow us to find these people? It would be crazy impossible if we just posted a job posting trying to find someone. We could never find this level of fit. And one of the things that is most interesting is that you'd think that the most talented developer you could find is someone with a PhD or someone that came out from a top league university. But what we've found is that this is not necessarily the case at all. And we've partnered up with people from all walks of life and who maybe their main job is something completely different, but they have this hobby of 3D printing. They're really good at it and they really understand it. So it's really quite a democratic process to find people,
I'm curious, I don't want to misspeak, but for some reason I thought large parts of the RatRig product line is open source. Did I misunderstand that?
No, that's completely correct. We've always been completely open source.
Amazing.
We think the open source movement is absolutely awesome. It's one of the best things that has happened to this industry. It's we feel as a contributor to the community, to the open source community, and we stand in the shoulders of giants, you know.
Yeah.
And we feel it's almost our obligation, and there's a sense of duty trying to contribute and give back to that community. This community has done so much for us that
Right.
our approach is just, you know, we're here to give back, to listen. I think this is a very important core value of our company, is that we really listen, we really pay attention, and try to go where the users want to go and where the open source community wants to go, for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think in the past, maybe there have been a lot of companies that worry about, even Prussia, you know, Joe posted, questioning kind of the future of open source and if it still makes sense. And there are companies that abuse that. But then I see, you know, so I've been worried about it. And on some level, I totally understand when people create something totally new, they deserve to have protections over that. So kind of just directly carbon copying things is not what open source is. It's not the intent. It's allowed. It's not the intent. But then I see companies like Sovel, right? They just did their SVO8. Fully open source. I mean, you don't have to publish step files to call it open source, but they did.
Sure.
And I spoke to them the other day, and they're like, the launch has been really, really great. And, you know, commercially it has worked out well for them. So it renews hope for me that there is still commercial viability around open source.
For sure. I think that inside our bubble, we feel that 3D printing has already, you know, spread out and became mainstream. You know, I've been finding more and more evidence that this is not really the case, and we're kind of listening to the same people in the same space all the time, and we're inside this bubble where we feel that everyone knows about 3D printing. Just last week, I went to a job shop in Lisbon, trying to hire great engineering students from one of the top technical universities here in Portugal. And one thing that struck me, I was not at all expecting this, is that almost every student that came by had never seen a 3D printer working. This was the majority of students. They were like, whoa, what's this? You know? So
Wow.
it's not as mainstream as maybe we have the notion that it is.
That's
wild. And this means that any company that is actually helping making 3D printing more mainstream is increasing the pie, you know? And even if it means that a company like ours gets a smaller percentage of the pie, if the pie is expanding, is beneficial for everyone. And
100%.
you know, there's different use cases for all types of things. Prusa is great. We are great admirers of Prusa. Bamboo Labs really brought a lot of innovation and is going to really help make 3D printing stream, you know, because of their pricing. A lot more people are going to be able to afford the 3D printer. They're going to get their first contact with 3D printers. And maybe, because it's not like you don't need to choose a team. You can have a Bamboo and you can have a Ratrig, you know, and there's so many people who have so many printers and they want to try different things and have different use cases and have a printer for this use case and for the, so as long as the pie keeps expanding, and I think there's still a lot of opportunity for the pie to keep expanding.
Yeah, I love that philosophy.
Even if our slice, even if our slice gets smaller, you know, we get more cake in the end of the day, so it's fine.
I love that philosophy of like, great, you know, it's great that these companies are raising, I mean, Bamboo Lab, Anycubic, Polymaker, they're raising millions, I can't say how much, but they've raised tens of millions of dollars from VC funds. And, you know, if I understand your perspective, it's basically great. There are investors investing tens of millions of dollars in getting 3D print, more people into 3D printing, even if it's initially through their own product, right? It's kind of like when Colgate went into India, there's this big example of like, first you gotta get people to understand toothbrushing and the importance of it, and you have to educate the consumer. And
exactly.
You know,
I
think your approach is very healthy. You're like, great, let my competitors spend millions of dollars to educate my next generation of customers. Maybe 80% of them will always just want a plug and play 3D printer that's controlled by an app in a closed ecosystem. But that 20% that graduates and says my next printer I'm going to build myself is significant. I love that. That's eye-opening for me to think about it that way. I do want to ask
exactly
someone actually. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's exactly it. And you know, there will always, I think, be users. A great percent of our users really love 3D printers more than 3D printing. And I think this niche is going to continue to exist. People who really want to, make their build, customize it,
Right.
upgrade it, polish it, tune it. I think there's always going to be some space for that, and also the DIY space is very agile, so it allows us to integrate new technologies much faster than other competitors. So I think we can always keep riding the crest of the wave.
Right.
A good example for VCore 4 is that we just integrated the Beacon 3D probe. So we are always able to make these partnerships and integrate them in our products. The past has shown us we're able to do this faster than competitors can. And if you want
Right.
to stay on top of the latest technology and the latest developments, and if you are perfectly happy to be an early adopter, I think RedRig is going to continue being the platform for you, because it's super open and super
very cool.
versatile in that sense.
So I want to understand, you touch a little bit about open source and spoke highly of a lot of the open source printers. I'm trying to understand, just in my mind, to categorize, like, where would you put Voron, right, which was originally a commercial project? I guess, let me ask the question this way. If you had to compare RatRig to Voron, how would you do that? Like, how can I understand the differences in philosophy, differences in the printers? I think we all understand a lot of the similarities, right? Core XY, open source machines, community-driven, community-focused. How would you compare and contrast Voron machines and philosophy to RatRig machines and philosophy?
First of all, we're big fans of Voron. I think it's great that they exist. I think they are great contributors to the open source movement. I don't think at all, I don't want to even begin doing a comparison between what is best. I don't care about that at all.
Sure.
I think the more people that help make the 3D printing mainstream, the better. And each of us has their own niche. I can't say I understand the inner workings of Voron with a lot of specificity, so I don't want to talk as if I'm some sort
Right.
of expert. My understanding is it's not a commercial company. They have
Right.
partnered up with commercial suppliers of kits, but all the development is basically a non-profit effort,
Right.
which I think it's a great thing. Of course, there's benefits that come from being an actual commercial company, as in our case, because we get to dictate a lot more about the entire process. From the supply chain, we actually vertically integrate a lot here at RedRig. We do everything from the design to the testing, to the building, to the fabrication of kits, to the
very good
sourcing of
point.
components, to the shipping, to the technical support. So a lot of customers really want to have some sense of security, that, okay, I bought this
Yeah.
kit. If something is not working, I want to activate a warranty. I don't want to be talking with 20 different suppliers because I was self-sourcing from lots of different places. So there's some security that comes from that. We are a EU company, so we need to adhere to all EU laws. If your shipment arrives and there's a damage, we are going to cover it. So
Right.
there's a lot of security that comes from it. In terms of differentiation, I would say that probably one of the things that we do really well that Voron hasn't touched yet, and I don't know if it's in their plans or not, but we do very much larger sizes than they do. So our machines go up to a 500 millimeter cube. I don't think Voron has touched these build volumes yet. And it's actually our most popular size. Half of the machines we sell are on this size. So it
Really?
kind of shows that, yeah, that's true. That's true. Half of the machines. So even though they are really big, and you'd think, who has the space for a machine of this size? It's actually the most popular size.
That surprises me.
Really goes, yeah, it really goes.
But then
to show
again, when
that
I talked
there's-
to Uncle Jesse, he also said he told Elegoo no one's going to buy a 1 meter tall machine, and then they blew through sales records. So
yeah.
there is a lot of demand for those big printers.
Again, it's not 3D printing is not a monolith. There's a lot of diversity, and one size fits all solutions is not what the consumer wants. Maybe some consumer will fit in that bill, but there's always going to be different consumers that want different things. So diversity is great for everyone, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think I liked your answer a lot, and I hadn't thought about I think I don't think you guys would be doing things the way that you were doing if you didn't have the same values as the Voron team. So I expected that piece of the answer, but I never thought about the fact that it's almost as if, right, building a Voron or sourcing and building a Voron, you're kind of, sailing around the Atlantic or sailing around the world by yourself. It's the full trekking backpack experience, no customer service, as you said. Kind of, some companies are providing standardization, right? Like LDO kits have very clear documentation on exactly, but then even within that, you have 5 different manuals because there's a different hot end manual, a different clicky. There's a lot of choice, which I'm sure there is also. You guys probably have a lot of choices, but there is this standardization of you guys are manufacturing everything in-house. So it's almost, it feels to me kind of like the journey of building your own printer, but with someone holding your hand a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
That makes sense.
I agree
That
with
makes
that.
a lot of sense. Let's talk about, I want to get to VCore, but first I want to talk about the CNC. So
Okay.
that's an interesting choice, right, to do a CNC next, because you're leveling up, I think, the level of danger to the end consumer. And I think it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. It's harder than doing, as you said, camera sliders and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of challenges. So tell me about that process, and why was it just customer feedback that led you guys to say, okay, this is going to be the next vertical that we go into?
It's interesting that you asked that, because it goes to show that our CNC lineup is not as well known as it could be, because our CNC lineup probably started, I don't know, at least 4 years ago. Okay.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that.
This is really these are just some of the new products that we are now announcing.
Okay.
More projection. I think the YouTube channel really helped us, reach a broader audience.
Yeah.
But the way we started with CNC machines actually was because at some point in time we had all the components in-house from the Open Builds catalog. And Open Builds had the CNC kit called the Lead CNC, which we felt, okay, we might not know anything about CNC, but we have the components in-house. Why not offer this as a kit that can be locally sourced in Europe? Users that want to build this DIY CNC don't necessarily need to import it from China or from America. They can buy it straight from us. And there is an European company called Usenest, who also has their own version of DIY CNC that kind of uses the same type of components, which is called the Workbee. And we also started supplying their kits. So in the beginning, we were not developing these products, but we were supplying them. We were offering support. We had customers asking us questions about them, telling us what they wanted to do, what they were struggling to do, what were the limitations of the products we were selling. And again, we started paying close attention to what were the needs, and realized at some point in time that the kits we were selling were all based on wheels. So the guiding system was V-wheel based. And people were really not that happy about that, and they wanted something more robust. So we decided, okay, we sell the Lead CNC and the Workbee. Let's now create an upgrade kit for these machines that was, designed by ourselves, that is going to focus on making these machines a lot more sturdy, more precise, and more rigid by replacing all the wheels with linear rails, and by really thickening up the sturdiness of the plates. And this was our first CNC design product. We call it the Killer Bee. And the Killer Bee sold for quite a while, and we learned a lot of experience. We understood what were the challenges that the Killer Bee brought. And at some point we decided, okay, the problem here right now, if we want to push performance to the next limit, the problem is that we're still attached to the Open Builds platform, which is all based on V-slot, which is a base 20 profile, and it's going to have its inherent limitations, because we're talking about M5 fasteners. The fasteners themselves are super flimsy, So we really need to go to the next level in terms of the sturdiness of the platform itself. So we actually launched, I think it was probably in the beginning of last year, our own CNC lineup called the Stronghold. And the Stronghold, these are large format CNC machines, okay? The smallest one is going to have a work area of about 75 centimeters per 75 centimeters, and the biggest one is going to go up to 1.5 meters by 1.5 meters. So these are large machines.
Do you guys use these to CNC parts for rat rigs?
Come again?
So I'm assuming that you guys 3D print all the parts for rat rig machines,
Yes.
the V-Core machines
Yes.
on rat rig machines. But you guys also use, I assume you use CNC machines that the consumer can buy to make all the CNC parts.
Yes, we use our CNC machines to machine some of our parts, but we are space constrained in our current headquarters.
Got you.
So we don't have space for many CNC machines, and that's a limiting factor that doesn't allow us to in-source all of our needs, but we do source some of our parts for sure. If we're trying to work on expanding our space, and it's definitely a big priority to have more CNC machines operating, because obviously it's the case that we're going to be able to be a lot more cost effective if we use our own products as opposed to be hiring.
That's very cool. I mean, services. I know Prusa prints all their printed parts on Prusa machines, but you can't buy the laser cut or plasma cut machines that cuts the frame from Prusa. On that note, on the note of space constraint, I do have to take a moment to thank our sponsor, because not everyone has space for a metal 3D printer, a CNC machine, a plasma cutter, and many other things. So PCBWay has you covered, and we're going to open really quickly, because I think this is just the best advertisement for their services, a part that I designed and had made out of beautiful aluminum and then wonderfully, beautifully powder coated and then sandblasted. This is a Revo hot end adapter for the Sovol SV08, which hasn't even shipped yet. So that's how fast PCBWay's turnaround is. They sent me the step files, or they published the step files. I designed this in a few hours, had some help from Pickle. Shout out to Pickle on Discord. Ordered it, it was here in a few days, beautifully powder coated. So whether you guys want, and I'm just gonna show you all the things that they do. Let's. That's what I wanted to show. Whether you want, look at this roster of services: metal 3D printing, PCB assembly, sheet metal manufacturing, injection molding, SLS 3D printing, or a million other services that they do. Yeah, PCBWay is the way to go. You could, of course, buy a rat rig CNC, but then you'd still need to go buy a metal 3D printer, an injection molding machine, an SLS 3D printer, a lot of things. Link in the description, $5 discount, amazing quality and service. Thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring. All right, we're back.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah, every week I feel like every couple weeks I try a new challenge for PCBWay, and I'm just having so much fun, because I never, I just got into 3D printing 3 years ago, so I had never played around with like machined metal parts. I had to ask on Twitter, like, what tolerances do I design for this? And I've been having a lot of fun, and I just send them stuff, and they're really cool about sending them back.
Cool stuff.
Let's see. So people are asking a lot of great questions. Let's ignore all of them for a second.
I was still getting on my way
please.
to talk about the mills.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So just to resume, and maybe I'm overextending myself, but we launched the Stronghold CNC lineup last year. These are large format CNC machines. We've had 1 year to integrate feedback from customers. I think the CNC machines are already quite developed. We just decided to bring up all these lessons to a much smaller format, which is actually an easier problem to solve in many aspects. So when it comes to the rat rig mills, it's not like, we just decided 2 or 3 months ago to come up with a small format CNC. Actually, the first drafts of these mills were already designed probably a couple of years ago. We just felt it wasn't a niche big enough to maybe be worth going through all of the development, sourcing, fabrication work to get into. But more recently, we started seeing a lot of more interested in that. And we thought, well, we have this project in the drawer. Why not finish it, polish it, and put it out there if there's a lot of interest? And yeah, that's a story of the mills. We decided to release them in two different formats: a smaller one that is really focused on optimizing for space, and a bigger one that we think it's like the most balanced solution if you're looking for if you have enough space and if you're looking for the best mill money can buy, in our opinion. Yeah, they're going to start beta testing very soon.
I am gonna have to look into that because I love ordering stuff from PCBWay, but there's some stuff that I need now. Especially now, I'm getting into much more steel working. I don't know if you've been following. I'm trying to like build my own filament recycler, so I'm getting into welding, and there's some things that you just need made out of metal, and you need them now. And getting anything machined in Israel is wildly expensive, so I will be checking that. So as I said, we have a lot of really great questions. It seems people really want to ask a lot about the VCore 4. I want to commend you guys actually, because you guys haven't sponsored anything. This is the first time you and I are speaking, so that I have no bias whatsoever. But I want to commend you guys because when I saw the VCore 4 and I saw the hybrid motor thing, the rapid switching, I breathed a sigh of relief, and I'll tell you why. It has gotten really freaking boring to review machines and cover new machines because we're in another race to the bottom, I feel like, where there's incremental changes. I literally, an hour before this, was on a call with a company, and they asked me, what do you think of our new machine? And I said, it feels like you're skating to where, the metaphor, skate to where the puck is going, not skate to where the puck is. And I was like, this machine does a really great job skating to where the puck is. But in 3 months, the puck is going to move. And it's like, and I don't feel that. I haven't tried any of the Rat Rig products yet, but I don't feel that about what you guys did. So I just want to commend you guys because it's really exciting to see someone having some fresh ideas. Tell me more about the hybrid thing. People want to understand the performance difference. I don't fully understand how the hybrid works. It's somewhere between Core XY and all-wheel drive.
Yes, that's exactly it. So it's like all-wheel drive, but focus on the y-axis because there's an asymmetry between the x-axis and the y-axis. The x-axis is very light, so it's not a lot of mass that you need to move, while the y-axis, it's a moving mass that is quite big, particularly if you go for a larger size machine. And remember that half of our machines are on our largest size, so that's a very big gantry that needs to be moved. It has a lot of inertia, and if you kind of use 2 extra motors for that axis alone to equalize the asymmetries between these 2 axes.
That's
by providing.
Yeah, that's much easier to understand than it's between AWD and. Okay, I get it now. Sure. So it actually doesn't affect the x-axis.
Correct, yes. It's focused on the y-axis, just 2 extra motors, a couple of belts that attach to the gantry, to the Y gantry,
That's
and
cool.
they just boost the y-axis,
And I imagine you guys, this is a new thing, right? So I imagine you guys had to do all the kind of forking of clipper to actually get that to work.
I wouldn't go as far as to say anything we do is completely new or innovative. What may look like a breakthrough from the receiving end, from our perspective, is just continuous iteration and inspiration from other projects and ideas. Sure. I wouldn't go as far as to say that we invented the concept or we were the first to thought it through, but something that we are really proud of is that we were able to implement it on a machine as a modular upgrade that doesn't require any type of rebuilding of the machine. So you can start with the too intimidated by hybrid, that's fine. Start with the Core XY, build it. Once you've tuned it, once you're happy with it, okay, now I want to go for a performance boost. I really want to speed up my machine and go for higher accelerations. I just need to install a couple of extra parts, and all of a sudden I have a hybrid machine. And then there's an even additional upgrade that you can build on top of the hybrid one, which is the IDEX one. We can talk about that a bit later if you'd like. But yeah, we're really proud about the fact that it's a progressive upgrade path on a modular system that doesn't require any type of rebuilding, which is something that we really struggled on the previous platform of the VCore machines, is that IDEX really required the machine to be rebuilt, basically.
Yeah, and this is not that. Helge Keck says, he basically answered the next question I wanted to ask, which is, the hybrid kinematic also offers much better corner and layer stacking quality because of the shorter belts. So it's also a quality thing, not just a performance thing.
Fair enough. Thank you, Helge.
And then Mitsuma says, hybrid kinematics were added to Clipper some years ago, but Helge and Mikkel did some improvements. So thank you, Helge, and thank you, Mitsuma, for answering questions and also for contributing to open source. I promised I wouldn't ask you technical questions, but give me a rough, I guess it would matter. The answer to the question is going to be it depends on the size, right? It's going to make a bigger difference on a 500 by 500 machine, but what kind of performance difference are we talking about with hybrid?
Basically, the input shaper recommendations is to double the acceleration once you install the hybrid mode.
That's freaking cool.
It's a big difference. Yeah.
As someone who people can't hear because I'm using a condenser microphone, but all I hear on the other side is my y-axis on my Voron, which has, by the way, that super light Physec, lattice thing. I've done everything I can, but I just hear it going wah every time the y-axis has to move.
Yes,
I can appreciate that.
We're routinely using 30K acceleration here in our testing, and Jeez. I think some of our beta testers are doing more than that even.
Holy crap! What hot end do you guys use to achieve fast enough extrusion?
We use the latest version of the Rapido 2. I think it's Rapido 2 Plus from Thetis. Yeah.
Yep, that's what I have.
Really
on my
good for high
as
flow.
Well.
And we couple it with the latest version of the Orbiter. We feel that they are really a good compromise between how light they are, how performant they are for a high flow, and the pricing is also an important aspect. We really feel they are a good configuration. But again, we will keep open to new introductions that may come into the market. And it's the beauty of our platform is that very easily, if tomorrow a new hot end comes out or a new extruder comes out and we think, okay, this is the path forward from now on, we can adapt the machine very easily. And we can keep adapting the toolhead to what comes out.
It's really exciting to me, the prospect of, because I think for now I'm a little bit done. As I said in my SV08 review, I wanted one other kind of big printer and I was willing. I mean, I always want more printers, but I needed one more big printer because my Voron is always tied up doing something big. And I was going to build another Voron. And then the SV08 came out and I was like, I don't think I can justify spending 40 hours for something that's, let's be honest, very close. But it's the prospect of 500 by 500 machines is exciting. Someone actually asked, TG asked, given that the 500 is the most popular size, given the noted success of the Orange Giga, and I'll add to his question, given that you guys now have this hybrid thing which can overcome some of the challenges of such a big machine, is there any even bigger machine in the works, like an 800 cubed, that you guys would maybe consider producing?
It's I think we are not constrained by lack of ideas or exciting projects to pursue. It's a matter of where to allocate our resources to make the most amount of people happy. There's definitely been talks about larger format, and there's definitely interest in larger formats. At the moment, I cannot say that it's in the immediate horizon to launch something even bigger than 500, but it's definitely something that we're continuously talking about. Should we do it? How should we approach it? As I say, it's never a lack of ideas. It's limited resources most of the times,
right.
To pursue them all.
Well, I'm hoping to see. I was excited to see because so many 3D printer manufacturers in Europe are actually closing shop. I can name 2 or 3 right off the top of my head. So I was very excited for you to hear you say, 1, that we grew like crazy, but 2, the launch has gone so well that we're going to grow like crazy again. So I'm going to be hoping for more products from you guys. Maybe I don't like my camera slider, so maybe a new camera slider would be nice too. Let me ask you a hard question that I think I know the answer to, but I want to ask it anyway. I've always thought to myself, right? And I'm gonna separate this question from you, and I'm gonna talk about Prusa, because I think it's easier to hypothetical, and then you can answer it from your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I've looked at Prusa, and I know they're selling a lot of printers, and I'm glad they're selling a lot of printers, but they're feeling a squeeze very much from lower cost printers, which are now not necessarily lower quality. And I say to myself, when Tesla, an American company that designs all their cars in Germany and the US, when they're opening up factories in China, why doesn't Prusa just do that? And maybe they can charge a different price. There are some companies that do that. You know, you can buy the European-made one or you can buy the Chinese one. And, you know, vertically integrate, have everything produced in-house in a factory they own in China. And I ask, why don't they do that? So I want to ask if you would ever consider that, and if so, yes. If not, why not?
We really like having as much ownership and control of the entire supply chain as we can. Over the course of our history, it has been really helpful that the same team that is sourcing the components is listening to the customers and their feedback, and feeding this loop continuously, and it really allowed us to be very agile. So I think one of the problems with that idea is that it really removes agility. It may be a good strategy if you really want to go for mass volume. We haven't reached that position yet, so we're not in a position to compare ourselves to the volume that Prusa already has. And I don't know why at some point of the fork or some point of their path they didn't decide. We haven't passed through that process yet. We're not at that scale yet. But for our scale, nimbleness is really one of the reasons why we feel that vertically integrating and insourcing as much as possible has really helped us over the years.
That makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought about that. I thought about the production quality costs, but there's also significant benefit for you and for Prusa. And if you listen to some of the Tesla shareholder calls, some of the biggest challenges they've faced is like, okay, actually it's funny, it's ironic, but the quality standards of basically whenever you have the same thing happening in different locations, you have the synchronization issue of consistency and how are we going to make sure we're following the same processes. If you can't tell, I went to business school and studied this stuff. And the funny, weird thing that happened was the Chinese factory was actually ramping up to scale faster than the German one could because of all different kinds of standards. And it's more competitive. It's harder. Things like regulations. That, yeah. It's harder to find. It's more competitive to find engineers in Europe right now. Anyway, so they basically had to kind of sandbag the scale to the new, I forget what it's called, the facelifted Model 3. Like China was able to get there faster. Thank you, Highland.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but it's still, the problem is the problem, right? I wonder, there's something also to be said, and I love Portugal. I've been to Portugal many times. I really want to buy a vacation home in Portugal if you hear about anything. But there's something to be said about the fact that you guys are in Portugal, Prusa is in Czech Republic. None of you are in Germany or UK where labor costs are so high. Do you think that also helps?
It probably helps, but to be honest, I think we are a very efficient team. And the cost of salaries in our team doesn't really have a lot of relevance in the volume of the business. And I think we really make the most out of the people we have here and try to be very efficient in our automation. So I wouldn't say it's probably great contributor to the cost savings.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm questioning my hypotheses here. Let's see. Let's go through the Peanut Gallery. They have some great questions. By the way, where does the name Rat Rig come from?
I was expecting this question, and I was hoping to be able to keep it a mystery because the story is so uninteresting that it's much better to keep an aura of mystery and make people keep guessing about it.
Keep it a mystery.
Sometimes, if you're fine with that. I think the story is not that interesting, and I like that people keep wondering.
Okay, I like that. I respect when people don't want to answer a question. That's a good thing.
Fair enough.
So we talked about the hybrid. We talked about the IDEX, which I'm really excited about because I honestly feel like nobody has done IDEX right. Snapmaker, maybe, but no one has done it really well. Certainly not to the extent that there's no oozing. I mean, that's an accomplishment. Without directly asking you what you guys are working on for next year and the year after, what are the things that you're very excited about, the trends? And I owe credit to Precious Live for this question. What are the trends that you're looking at that are interesting, that you're excited about in the way that you were excited about hybrid and IDEX 2 years ago?
Sure. So actually, I think it was last week that Teaching Tech released a video about what's the gap in the market in the 3D printing space right now. And we were super happy to see that, he did a big poll with about 1,500 people replying to it. And, he processed that data to try to make a blueprint of what this 3D printer would look like. And we were super happy to see, oh, this is literally the pipeline we have for VCore 4, because VCore 4 was already launched, but this is just the beginning of an ecosystem that we are creating. The standard machine was launched already with an upgrade, which is the hybrid upgrade, but there's a lot more upgrades coming throughout the course of the year. I can already talk about some of them. Namely, IDEX is going to be something that we are super excited about. We have that super fast IDEX that I believe you saw, and that new tool shift technology that changes tool heads so fast that the nozzle pressure doesn't even drop. So you don't need to use wipe towers at all. It's going to really reduce the amount of wasted filaments. And on top of that, we are going to have a multi-material upgrade coming that can also be used on the IDEX machine. So now you can have two tool heads, each of them with up to 4 different filaments. So you're going to have the possibility to work with 8 filaments and two materials, up to 8 colors. And that's definitely something that we are super, super excited about. It's really going to cover the most interesting use cases out there, for sure.
Oh my God, that's really smart. Because I'm waiting, and I know it's happening. I'm sure it's happening. Prusa has a target on their back that they're the only recognized commercial tool changer. There's a couple other ones that I've seen at rep festivals, but they're the only big brand with a tool changer, and they have a target on their back because even E3D stopped selling a tool changer. So that market is ripe, and I think that's where a lot of manufacturers are going to be looking next.
We considered a tool changer a long time ago, back at the time of VCore 3, but we realized that this is not going to be a cheap machine for the end user. It's going to be a huge development investment, and it's not going to result in a product that is very affordable. And we thought, I think IDEX is probably a bit underrated, and there's a lot of things that you can do with IDEX that kind of cover all of the most important use cases. And IDEX is a much simpler implementation that can be done at a fraction of a cost. And we really bet on that path, and we think that what we have coming on the pipeline for VCore 4 is going to be really, really awesome.
I have many, many questions. Okay, first off, I agree. That's why I had this kind of light bulb moment. I assume that you still need to purge at least every time that each of the heads gets a new filament from the multi-material system.
You're getting into the technical stuff that I really don't want to, put my foot in the wrong place and give you the wrong answer. This is something that is still in the development queue. But what I can share for now is that we really think it's going to be one of the fastest IDEX out there, and with the least amount of waste. Those technical details are still too under development for me to be able to give you final answers.
I'm literally on the configurator right now, pricing out my VCore. When it sounds like you're also a car guy just like me. Like, you ever go to Lamborghini.com and just configure your dream Lamborghini? So that's what I'm doing right now.
I've done that with Tesla, to be honest. Not Lamborghini, but with Tesla.
Yeah, I do it all the time. It's like, if we didn't have 100% tax here on cars, here's what I would have. That's really exciting. When can we expect that multicolor upgrade?
So IDEX is in the immediate horizon. We are testing it. it always takes a while to go from the final testing to production, because one interesting thing about development is that I think you can do 80% of the work with 20% of the effort, and then the last 20% take 80% of the total effort. It's kind of a thing where the last 1% takes forever. It always seems to take forever to polish those last few details, and it makes it harder to predict the timeline. And after you finish developing, you also need to source, start a production ramp, and all of that. But I would say that, and we do tend to have optimistic timelines. I hope I'm not wrong about this. I would say that IDEX is coming out on the next quarter, and multi material upgrade is probably going to be on the last quarter of the year, something like that.
Okay, I'll throw this out there now, and I just hope that no one beats me to it, but I'm already working on, I want to start doing a roundup. Since 3D Print General got his channel banned, or they banned his channel, there's no one doing 3D print news. I don't want to copy that idea directly, but I had this idea of like, what if someone just took one video every quarter and said, here are all the new products that are going to be coming out that are not, you know, secret, and this is what you need to know, because it's getting to be there. We're so blessed with so much innovation that even I, and this is my full-time job, I can't keep up with what all the cool companies are coming out with. So any companies listening, and also you guys, it doesn't cost anything. All you have to do is just send me a paragraph of what the product is, when it's coming out, and what it's going to cost. And I'm just going to go through a list, and some of the products I'll actually show on camera. Some of them it'll just be pictures, but let me know in the comments, guys, if that's a video you'd actually watch before I already have like 60 products that I need to put in the next one. And you just gave me 3 more. So Sonat, I know we both have to wrap here. Lots of printing to be done, lots of printers to be built.
Sure.
Let me ask you some of my rapid fire questions. Do you guys have any printers there that are not your own?
In-house?
Mm-hmm.
Let me think. I don't want to lie. I don't think we do.
Amazing.
I don't think we do, no.
Okay. What is your... I know you have different versions. VCore is still in development. If I told you I need you to print me something right now, it has to be perfect the first time and I need it in an hour, what's the printer you're going to go to?
To be honest, our farm printers, because they've been tuned to perfection over the course of many years of printing 24/7. Yep. So, you know, if you want reliability, go for something that has been working for a long time as opposed to something that just started working.
So probably the VCore 3s in the farm.
Yeah, which are really heavily modded VCore 3s that we adapted to our needs, and then kind of show how adaptable the platform is, because we did a lot of adaptations. But yeah, they're not really VCore 3s, but they're closer to VCore 3 than to VCore 4.
I assume they have like auto ejection and stuff like that?
No, they don't.
Okay, just cool modifications for printing all day, every day. Okay, any other rapid fire questions? No, I think we're good. I do want to ask the green. I love the green. I really like the green. Is there a story behind that color green?
We wanted a color that stood out. We really obsessed over the right shade of green. It turns out green is a really difficult color to have consistency on. Yep. You know, between across multiple materials and across digital and textures in the real world and all of that. And over the course of the years, we really tuned our green. We're pretty happy with where the green is today, but basically we just wanted a punchy color that was very recognizable and that kind of stood out from all the competition. And this is something that we saw for the first time in action at Formnext last year. We haven't been in a lot of trade shows over the years. We just very recently started doing that. But we really felt that our colors stood out in a place like Formnext. There's a lot of sameness there, and our green is quite punchy in the middle of all of that.
Very, very cool. Sonat, I want to thank you for your time. This has been really eye-opening. I learned a lot, not just about you guys, but also about just business strategy. So I hope you'll come on in the future. Again, this was a pleasure.
Would love to. Thank you very much for inviting me. And thank you for the opportunity.
Pleasure. All right, I'll take us out.
Cheers. Bye.